In the intricate dance of human interaction, a silence often speaks volumes. A fleeting glance, a dismissive gesture so subtle it barely registers, can betray underlying sentiments far more potent than any spoken word. But what if these seemingly insignificant whispers are telling you something profound, something you've been hesitant to acknowledge? What if someone within your inner circle, someone you trust or encounter regularly, harbors a dislike for you, carefully concealed beneath a veneer of politeness or indifference? This isn't about fostering paranoia or succumbing to overthinking, it's about cultivating awareness, a clarity that liberates you from confusion and empowers you to navigate relationships with genuine understanding. Consider the opening scene of a play. The actors are positioned, the lights dim, and a pregnant pause hangs in the air, hinting at the drama to unfold. Similarly, our interactions are filled with such unspoken cues, waiting to be deciphered. By the time you reach the end of this exploration, you'll not only be able to recognize these subtle signs of hidden dislike but, more importantly, you'll possess the tools to respond with the unwavering calm and resilience that Stoicism champions. Have you ever entered a room, offered a warm greeting to everyone present, only to be met with an unsettling feeling, a discordant note in the atmosphere? Perhaps it was a pause that lingered too long, a smile that appeared strained, or even words that sounded superficially pleasant but lacked genuine warmth. These subtle discrepancies often linger in our minds, subtly undermining our sense of peace and prompting us to question, is it me, or is it them? Together, we will unravel this perplexing dynamic and learn to rise above its potential negativity. The Stoic philosophy offers a powerful framework for understanding and navigating these complex situations, providing practical tools for maintaining inner peace and acting with virtue, even in the face of unspoken animosity. Before we embark on this journey, take a moment to consider the power of community in shared learning. This exploration is dedicated to empowering individuals like you to navigate the complexities of life with clarity, resilience, and wisdom, much like a seasoned sailor navigating treacherous waters with a steady hand and a keen understanding of the stars. If you believe in the power of reason and calm in mastering life's challenges, then let's build a strong community together, grounded in strength and mutual support. Life is a tapestry woven with countless impressions, subtle interactions that leave their indelible marks on our emotions and thoughts, like footprints in the sand. However, the Stoics implore us not to be passively controlled by these impressions but to actively understand them, to analyze them through the lens of reason and virtue. Part 1, The Stoic Foundation, Understanding and Detachment. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor whose wisdom echoes through the ages, once wrote, "If someone despises me, that is their problem. My only concern is whether I am acting justly." These words are not merely an invitation to detach ourselves from the capricious judgments of others, they are a profound reminder to live with unwavering integrity and discerning wisdom. But how do we discern when someone secretly harbors resentment or dislike towards us? The uncomfortable truth is that we often miss these crucial signals, choosing to overlook or rationalize them because acknowledging them can be unsettling. Yet, recognizing the truth, however unpleasant, is the indispensable first step towards cultivating emotional resilience and achieving inner harmony. Have you ever found yourself misjudging a relationship, believing someone to be a genuine friend only to later discover that they were quietly undermining you, perhaps driven by envy or hidden agendas? This isn't simply about interpersonal drama or workplace politics, it's about safeguarding your mental well-being and preventing negativity from festering within your sphere of influence, like a hidden leak slowly eroding the foundation of a building. Here's a story that illustrates the importance of recognizing hidden dislike. A colleague of mine once invested countless hours in a challenging project, going above and beyond to provide support to a fellow team member. On the surface, their interactions appeared amicable, they engaged in polite conversations and even shared the occasional coffee break, seemingly solidifying a bond of camaraderie. However, as time passed, subtle yet persistent signs began to emerge, sarcastic remarks disguised as jokes, a conspicuous lack of acknowledgement during important meetings, and, eventually, exclusion from critical decision-making processes. By the time the truth surfaced, that the team member had been actively discrediting my colleague's efforts behind their back, the professional relationship was beyond repair. The damage had been done, leaving a lasting impact on morale and trust within the team. Moments like this underscore the critical importance of identifying hidden dislike. It's not about engaging in unnecessary confrontations or nurturing a climate of suspicion, it's about cultivating a clear understanding of the dynamics at play around us and proactively protecting our own well-being, like a skilled chess player anticipating their opponent's moves. Stoicism isn't a philosophy of avoidance, it's a philosophy of preparation, of confronting reality with unwavering courage and unclouded clarity, even when that reality is uncomfortable or challenging. You might assume that identifying dislike is a straightforward process, a simple matter of observing obvious hostility or overt aggression. But here's the crucial catch: it rarely manifests in the way we expect. Some of these telltale signs might even surprise you, perhaps even appearing counterintuitive at first glance. Subtlety, after all, is often the preferred language of concealed emotions, like a spy using coded messages to transmit sensitive information undetected. As we delve into each of these 7 subtle signs, you'll observe how they intricately weave themselves into the fabric of our daily interactions, often so discreetly that they're easily overlooked, like a faint melody barely audible above the din of everyday life. By the end of this exploration, you'll not only be able to recognize these signs with greater accuracy, but you'll also possess the tools to respond with the calm strength and measured wisdom that Stoicism so eloquently teaches, allowing you to navigate these challenging situations with grace and resilience. Part 2: 7 Subtle Signs of Hidden Dislike. Avoidance of eye contact, the unspoken disconnect. There's an undeniable weight in sustained eye contact, a silent affirmation of presence, honesty, and even vulnerability. When we meet another person's gaze, we acknowledge their existence and open ourselves up to a genuine connection. But when someone consistently avoids meeting your eyes, it's more than a mere habit or a sign of shyness, it often signals a deeper, more complex dynamic. Why is this seemingly insignificant gesture so important? Because, in the absence of direct connection, avoidance often reveals what words intentionally conceal, like a closed door hiding a secret room. According to Stoic philosophy, unresolved internal conflict is often projected outward, influencing our behavior in subtle yet discernible ways. When someone consistently avoids eye contact, it's rarely about you as an individual, it's more likely about their own internal struggle to reconcile conflicting feelings or to mask emotions they are unwilling to confront directly. Epictetus, the renowned Stoic teacher, reminds us to observe without judgment, to see things as they are and not as we wish them to be. This behavior might be their subconscious way of masking resentment, guilt, or even fear of potential confrontation. It's as if their eyes are mirrors reflecting their inner turmoil, and they are unwilling to let you see the reflection. I recall a personal experience that powerfully illustrates this point. I was confiding in someone I considered a close friend during a particularly challenging period in my life. As I poured out my heart, sharing my struggles and vulnerabilities, they nodded along attentively, offering words of support and encouragement. However, I noticed that they rarely met my eyes, their gaze frequently drifting to the side or focusing on objects in the room. It wasn't until later that I discovered they had been silently frustrated with me, feeling that I had leaned on them too heavily and become an emotional burden. Their avoidance of eye contact wasn't a sign of disinterest or apathy, it was a subtle cue of underlying emotions they were hesitant to voice directly, a silent confession of their own discomfort. What are your thoughts on this? Have you noticed someone consistently avoiding your gaze recently? Did it strike you as intentional, or did you attribute it to mere shyness or a personal quirk? Share your experiences and observations in the comments below, I'm eager to hear your perspectives. Passive-aggressive remarks, the sting of subtlety. Not every expression of dislike or animosity takes the form of a direct confrontation or an outright attack. Often, it's cleverly disguised, cloaked in sarcasm and thinly veiled as humor, or wrapped in compliments that feel suspiciously like veiled criticisms, like a wolf in sheep's clothing. But why is passive aggression such a common and revealing tactic? What drives individuals to express their negative feelings in such an indirect and often manipulative way? The Stoics teach us to remain unprovoked, to observe behavior as objective external data, rather than reacting emotionally. A passive-aggressive remark often reflects the speaker's internal conflict, their own feelings of insecurity or resentment, rather than a genuine critique of your actions or character. Marcus Aurelius urged us to focus on our own actions, constantly asking ourselves, is what I am doing aligned with virtue? Is my behavior contributing to the greater good? Observing rather than reacting impulsively is a source of immense power in these situations. At a previous job, I worked alongside someone who frequently made seemingly innocuous remarks that carried a subtle sting. They would often say things like, "Oh, it must be nice to have so much free time to work on that particular project," delivered with a forced smile and a tone that suggested envy rather than genuine appreciation. On the surface, these comments sounded harmless, even complimentary, but they left a lingering feeling of unease and discomfort. It wasn't until I recognized the pattern and understood the underlying motivation that I realized it was their way of expressing frustration and resentment about their own heavier workload and perceived lack of opportunities, a subtle jab disguised as a harmless observation. Have you ever encountered a joke or a compliment that felt more like a veiled jab, a subtle attempt to undermine or belittle you? How did you handle the situation? What strategies did you employ to navigate the interaction and maintain your own sense of equilibrium? Let's discuss this complex dynamic further in the comments below. Exclusion from decisions or plans, the silent omission. Imagine being part of a group, a team, or a social circle where important decisions are made, and exciting plans are formulated, yet you're consistently the last to know, or worse, not included at all. This subtle form of exclusion might initially seem like an oversight, a mere coincidence or an unintentional omission. However, it often signals something deeper and more deliberate, a conscious effort to marginalize you or distance you from the inner circle. Stoicism encourages us to focus our energy and attention solely on what we can control, on our own actions and reactions, rather than dwelling on external circumstances that are beyond our influence. Being excluded from decisions or plans can certainly sting, triggering feelings of resentment, inadequacy, or isolation. However, it also reveals valuable information about where we stand in the minds of others, providing insights into their perceptions and motivations. If the exclusion is deliberate, then their behavior is a reflection of their own values, their own insecurities, or their own lack of consideration, rather than a reflection of your own worth or capabilities. Recognize the situation for what it is, but don't internalize it or allow it to erode your self-esteem. Have you ever experienced the feeling of being deliberately left out, and found yourself wondering why? Was it a simple misunderstanding, a genuine oversight, or a calculated act intended to exclude you? Let's reflect on this common experience together in the comments, sharing our perspectives and strategies for navigating such situations with grace and resilience. Unwillingness to celebrate your success, the shadow of envy. Have you ever achieved something truly meaningful, a significant accomplishment that you were genuinely proud of, only to be met with indifference or lukewarm acknowledgement from someone you expected to cheer you on, someone whose support you valued? This type of muted or negative reaction often goes unnoticed, hidden behind a veil of silence or a superficial show of congratulations. The Stoics celebrated virtues such as joy for others' achievements. When someone is unable to celebrate your successes, it often stems from envy. This reaction is a reflection of their discontent, a sign that they are struggling with their own insecurities or perceived shortcomings. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Rejoice with those who rejoice," emphasizing the importance of celebrating the good fortune of others as an exercise in cultivating virtue within ourselves. After successfully completing a particularly challenging and high-profile project, I was understandably ecstatic, eager to share my accomplishment with my colleagues and bask in the glow of their recognition. Most of my colleagues offered genuine congratulations and shared in my excitement, acknowledging the hard work and dedication that had gone into the project. However, one colleague stood out with their conspicuously muted response. They offered a half-hearted, "good for you," then quickly changed the subject, steering the conversation away from my accomplishment and back to their own concerns. Later, I discovered that they had been competing for the same opportunity to lead the project and felt overshadowed by my success. Their reaction, or rather their lack of a genuinely celebratory reaction, had little to do with my actual success and everything to do with their own feelings of disappointment and envy. Their inability to celebrate my achievement stemmed from their own internal struggle, not from any deficiency on my part. Overemphasis on your flaws, the magnifying glass of criticism. Some individuals have a tendency to magnify your mistakes and shortcomings, highlighting your flaws under the guise of helping you improve, offering what they perceive as constructive criticism. But is it truly constructive, genuinely intended to help you grow, or is it something else entirely, a subtle form of undermining disguised as helpful advice? The Stoics teach us to welcome genuine feedback, to be open to learning from our mistakes and striving for continuous improvement. However, they also emphasized the importance of discerning the intent behind the criticism, of evaluating the source and the motivation behind the feedback. When someone consistently fixates on your flaws, dwelling on your weaknesses and downplaying your strengths, it often stems from their own deep-seated need to feel superior, to elevate themselves by diminishing others. Epictetus reminds us that our worth is not defined by the judgments of others, by their opinions or criticisms. Instead, he encourages us to focus on our own character, on cultivating virtue within ourselves. When faced with frequent criticism, ask yourself, is this critique fair and accurate? Is it delivered with genuine care and concern, or does it carry an undertone of malice or resentment? Do you believe that frequent criticism always stems from a place of dislike, or can it sometimes be misinterpreted, delivered with good intentions but perceived as negative? Let's debate this complex and nuanced issue in the comments below. Limited communication, the silent treatment. Have you ever noticed someone responding to you with short, curt answers, providing minimal information and avoiding engaging in meaningful conversations? Or perhaps they actively avoid conversations altogether, making excuses to cut interactions short or simply ignoring your attempts to connect? This type of distancing behavior can be subtle, yet incredibly powerful in conveying a sense of disconnection and disinterest. Limited communication can stem from a variety of causes, ranging from simple busyness and stress to more complex issues such as conflict avoidance or underlying resentment. The key is to observe the pattern of communication, or lack thereof, and to consider the context in which it occurs. The Stoics remind us to look beyond the surface, to focus not only on the words spoken but also on the actions and behaviors that accompany them. Are they simply preoccupied with other matters, genuinely short on time and energy, or are they deliberately distancing themselves from you, creating emotional distance through limited communication? Approach the situation with curiosity and a willingness to understand, rather than making immediate assumptions or jumping to conclusions. A friend of mine once began replying to my messages with one-word answers, and our previously frequent and engaging conversations grew increasingly sparse. I initially attributed it to her being busy with work, but the pattern persisted for weeks, leaving me feeling confused and hurt. When I finally mustered the courage to ask her directly about the change in her communication, she admitted that she had been harboring resentment over a comment I had made weeks earlier, a comment that she had perceived as insensitive and dismissive. Her silence, her limited communication, was her way of coping with unresolved feelings, a passive-aggressive expression of her hurt and disappointment. Contradictory behavior, the unpredictable pendulum. One day, they're warm and friendly, engaging and supportive. The next day, they're cold and distant, seemingly indifferent or even hostile. Their behavior feels like a pendulum swinging unpredictably between extremes, leaving you feeling confused, uncertain, and constantly guessing about where you stand with them. What should you trust? How should you interpret such inconsistent and contradictory signals? Stoicism teaches us to observe patterns over time, to rely on consistent actions rather than fleeting words or emotions. Actions, after all, often reveal the truth more clearly than words, providing a more reliable indicator of a person's true feelings and intentions. Contradictory behavior is often a telltale sign of internal conflict, a manifestation of the person's own struggle to reconcile conflicting feelings or to manage their own emotional responses. They are likely grappling with their own unresolved feelings about you, which manifests in inconsistency and unpredictability. This internal conflict creates a sense of instability in their interactions, making it difficult to build a genuine and trusting relationship. Have you ever experienced the frustration of interacting with someone whose behavior leaves you constantly guessing, someone whose actions seem to contradict their words? How did you interpret their contradictory behavior? What strategies did you employ to navigate the uncertainty and maintain your own sense of equilibrium? Let's unpack this complex dynamic together in the comments below. Part 3: How to respond with Stoic wisdom. A. Remain emotionally detached, the power of perspective. Dislike, especially when it's hidden beneath a facade of politeness or indifference, has a way of tugging at our emotions, stirring up feelings of insecurity, resentment, or even anger. But here's a crucial truth to remember: you cannot control how others feel about you. Their feelings are their own, shaped by their own experiences, insecurities, and perceptions. What you can control, however, is how you choose to respond to their behavior. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you sense someone's animosity towards you, it's easy to fall into a cycle of overanalysis, replaying past interactions in your mind, scrutinizing your own words and actions, and questioning your own worth. Did I say something wrong? Is there something inherently wrong with me that provokes this negative reaction? This cycle only breeds insecurity and erodes your self-esteem. Instead, take a step back, create some emotional distance, and view their behavior as an external event, something that you observe without allowing it to infiltrate your inner peace. The Stoics encourage us to examine our judgments, to question our initial assumptions. Are we assuming malice where there may be none? Are we interpreting their behavior through a filter of our own insecurities or past experiences? By grounding yourself in this practice of rational analysis and emotional detachment, you reclaim your emotional equilibrium and prevent their negativity from poisoning your own state of mind. B. Address the issue or let go, choosing your battles. There are moments when a calm, honest, and direct conversation can effectively clear the air, resolving misunderstandings and fostering a more genuine connection. If the person in question is someone important to you, a family member, a close friend, or a valued colleague, then it's often worth addressing their behavior in a constructive and non-confrontational manner. However, remember that confrontation isn't about accusation or assigning blame, it's about seeking clarity and understanding. Approach the conversation with curiosity and a willingness to listen, rather than with anger or defensiveness. Ask open-ended questions instead of making accusatory statements. I've noticed some distance between us lately. Is something on your mind? Is there anything I can do to better understand your perspective? This approach aligns perfectly with Stoic principles. It's rational, measured, and aims to foster understanding and resolve conflict in a virtuous manner. However, not every situation warrants direct confrontation. Sometimes, the potential for further conflict or emotional distress outweighs the potential benefits of addressing the issue directly. If their behavior doesn't significantly affect your life, your well-being, or your ability to function effectively, then choosing to let go may be the wiser choice. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you always have the option of having no opinion. By choosing not to engage in unnecessary conflict or dwell on the negativity of others, you protect your own peace of mind and free up your energy to focus on what truly matters: your own growth, your own values, and your own pursuit of virtue. Part 4: Practical Stoic Exercises for Navigating Dislike. Journaling for perspective, recording and reflecting. At the end of each day, take some time to reflect on your interactions with others. Write in your journal about any moments that felt tense, uncomfortable, or confusing. Describe the situation in detail, focusing on the specific words, actions, and nonverbal cues that triggered your unease. Then, ask yourself, what was within my control in this situation? What was beyond my control? How did I react, and how could I have reacted differently, in a more virtuous and stoic manner? Journaling provides a valuable outlet for processing your emotions without acting impulsively, allowing you to gain clarity on whether the issue is worth pursuing further or whether it's best to simply let it go. It's a tool for self-reflection and emotional regulation, helping you to develop a more balanced and objective perspective on challenging situations. Daily reflection, the Stoic review. The Stoics practiced a daily review of their thoughts and actions, a process of self-examination that allowed them to identify areas for improvement and to reinforce their commitment to living virtuously. At night, before going to sleep, consider whether you acted justly, wisely, courageously, and temperately throughout the day. Did someone's behavior bother you today? Reflect on why you were bothered. Were you more concerned with their actions, which are beyond your control, or with your reaction to their actions, which is entirely within your control? This habit of daily reflection builds emotional resilience over time, helping you to develop a stronger sense of self-awareness and a more balanced perspective on life's inevitable challenges. Reframing negative interactions, seeking the lesson. When faced with subtle hostility or passive aggression, try to reframe the experience, shifting your perspective from victim to learner. Instead of thinking, "Why do they dislike me? What did I do to deserve this treatment?" ask yourself, "What can I learn from this interaction? How can I use this experience to grow and develop as a person?" Even negative interactions can teach us valuable lessons about patience, humility, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. Reframing doesn't excuse poor behavior or condone mistreatment, but it does shift your focus from frustration and resentment to personal growth and empowerment. It allows you to take control of your own emotional response and to extract meaning from even the most challenging situations. Part 5, The Stoic Perspective on Dislike, Understanding the Why. Dislike, whether openly expressed or carefully concealed, can feel deeply personal, even painful. But here's a fundamental reality to grasp: it's rarely about you as an individual. People's perceptions of you are shaped by their own internal struggles, their own insecurities, their own experiences, and their own biases. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When someone harbors dislike or resentment towards you, it often stems from their own internal conflicts, their own perceived shortcomings, or their own unresolved issues. Maybe they see in you something they wish they had themselves, a quality or an accomplishment that triggers their envy or insecurity. Or maybe you remind them of something they fear or dislike within themselves. Recognizing this truth frees you from the burden of taking their feelings personally, of interpreting their negativity as a reflection of your own worth or value. Instead, you can view their behavior with compassion and curiosity, rather than with resentment or hurt. Have you ever discovered that someone disliked you, only to later learn that their dislike had absolutely nothing to do with you as a person? Perhaps it stemmed from a misunderstanding, a past rivalry, or even a completely unrelated personal issue. How did that realization change your perspective? Did it help you to detach emotionally from their negativity and to focus on your own well-being? Share your insights and experiences in the comments below. Part 6, The Importance of Indifference, Finding Freedom from Approval. Epictetus teaches us to practice indifference to what lies outside our control, to focus our energy and attention on what we can influence, our own thoughts, actions, and values. Whether someone likes or dislikes you is ultimately their judgment, their opinion, their prerogative. It's not something you can control or change, no matter how hard you try. Chasing validation and seeking the approval of others is a never-ending pursuit, a futile attempt to fill an internal void with external gratification. True peace comes from aligning with your own values, from living in accordance with your own principles, and from finding satisfaction in your own accomplishments, regardless of whether others recognize or appreciate them. When you encounter dislike or negativity, remind yourself, this is their burden to carry, not mine. Their feelings are their own responsibility, and I am not obligated to change myself to earn their approval. Imagine the mental space you would free up, the emotional energy you would conserve, by letting go of the need to change someone's opinion of you. Indifference isn't about coldness or apathy, it's about prioritizing inner peace over external approval, about recognizing that your worth is inherent and unchangeable, regardless of what others may think or say. I once worked tirelessly to gain the favor of someone who seemed consistently indifferent to me. I went out of my way to help them, to compliment them, and to engage them in conversation, but every effort to connect felt forced and unnatural. It wasn't until I stepped back, stopped trying so hard, and focused on being true to myself that I found peace. And surprisingly, their attitude softened over time, likely because they sensed that I was no longer trying to manipulate or control their opinion of me. Part 7. Envisioning the Stoic Response. Now, imagine this scenario: you've just discovered that someone dislikes you, perhaps through one of the subtle signs we've discussed. In the past, you might have overanalyzed the situation, replaying interactions in your mind, scrutinizing your own behavior, or even confronting them in frustration or anger. But after absorbing the wisdom shared in this exploration, how would you respond differently? Would you pause to reflect on their behavior without taking it personally, recognizing that their feelings are likely driven by their own internal struggles? Would you choose to approach them with calm curiosity, seeking to understand their perspective without defensiveness or judgment? Or would you simply let go of the need to change their opinion, focusing instead on what you can control, your own thoughts, actions, and values? This is the Stoic path, to respond with clarity and wisdom, not impulsivity or emotional reactivity. To act with virtue, regardless of how others may treat you. To find peace in the midst of conflict and to maintain your inner equilibrium in the face of external negativity. Think about how this new perspective might change your relationships, how it might empower you to navigate challenging situations with greater grace and resilience. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How will you respond to hidden dislike differently after today, armed with the wisdom and tools you've gained from this exploration? Conclusion, key takeaways and the path forward. Today, we explored 7 subtle signs that someone dislikes you and is actively hiding it, ranging from avoidance of eye contact and passive-aggressive remarks to exclusion from decisions and an unwillingness to celebrate your successes. We discussed how these behaviors often reveal more about the other person than they do about you, reflecting their own insecurities, biases, and unresolved issues. The Stoic response, as we've seen, is rooted in emotional detachment, rational reflection, and virtuous action. Whether through journaling, reframing negative interactions, or choosing to let go of the need for approval, these practices empower you to maintain your peace of mind, to protect your emotional well-being, and to live in accordance with your values, regardless of how others may treat you. Remember this crucial point: their dislike is their burden to carry, not yours. Your task is to live justly, wisely, courageously, and temperately, to focus on cultivating virtue within yourself, and to find satisfaction in your own actions, regardless of external validation. As Seneca, the renowned Stoic philosopher, said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Don't let someone's hidden feelings weigh you down, don't allow their negativity to poison your own state of mind. If this exploration resonated with you, if you found value in the wisdom and insights shared, please share it with others who might benefit from it. Let's grow our Stoic Way community. Have you experienced hidden dislike in your own life? How did you handle it? What strategies did you employ to navigate the situation and maintain your own sense of well-being? Share your experiences and insights in the comments below. I read every single one and value your input. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. Remember, the way we respond to life's challenges defines us far more than the challenges themselves. Until next time, walk the Stoic way.